Before we begin, thank you very much to Joshua Slaughter for joining the Patreon campaign. That is definitely a name that could be a real name, but I'm going to imagine, unless you are actually related to Sergeant Slaughter himself, that this is a moniker. I'm going to go with that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I don't want to waste too much time on the shoutouts this time. But thank you all for contributing. You are definitely keeping the channel alive. I'm not hyperbolizing when I say that. But this is going to be a while. This is going to take a little bit. I haven't done a tier list video in a long time, so we're going to be ranking some things. And we're going to be ranking the toys of Robots in Disguise 2001. This one is a tricky beast to do because it's a mishmash toy line that throws in brand new toys from Japan with Generation 1 repaints. Things come from all different generations, all different strokes of Transformers that had come before. We got Beast Wars in here, Generation 2. We got Japanese exclusives, Euro exclusives. It's weird. It's a weird batch. So you'll excuse me, like, this is going to be a very weird tier list to do because a lot of these are not going to play well with each other. We're mostly going to go off of how well does it actually fit? How well does it do its job? And for what it is it fun? So this is going to be a very, very subjective one. Also, there's a bunch of repaints in here I would normally skip. So I'm going to probably skip those and then just dump them in at the end. So we're going to begin with a bit of Spy Changer, and it is Ironhide. Ironhide, I mean, all the Spy Changers are pretty much the same way, right? They're pretty much the same until you get to the Wave 2 ones. But Ironhide has a distinction of being way too forward heavy and being a little bit rough. He doesn't really stand up well. So he does fine for a Spy Changer, but Spy Changers are quick little fun figures, and there's some that are actually genuinely really nice. Like Mirage, for instance. Mirage, much sleeker. Much more balanced, and I think looks overall nicer. I think the cow pattern for Ironhide is a kind of a cool look, but I do like what this Mirage went for, so I'm gonna bump Mirage. Yeah, it's still let's see where this goes. I'm gonna put top of retail for now, because it is still a Spy Changer. Like, I can't say that like Cryotech is on par with a Spy Changer, right? So we'll figure out. We'll figure it out as we go. All right. So we have in the most inspired name in Transformer history, outside of Prowl 2. Oh, we'll get to him. We have Movor, because he's a vehicle that moves. So it's a leftover G1 Blastoff. The color scheme on the American release is weird because they tried to put like some kind of burn tarnish kind of look to it. But it's inconsistent, so it's just kind of like, it just kind of looks like the middle of him is dirty. Beyond that, it's not a bad color scheme. It's kind of Halloween-y. I don't necessarily think it does anything like thrilling, though. I don't think it's that thrilling of a figure. Obsidian. We're back to cow pattern camouflage. It's a very different take on Beast Machine's Obsidian because, hey, number one, it's still not show accurate. But number two, it's brown camo, which on a, on a helicopter you could potentially see. It's weird to see it on a Cybertronian VTOL. That's a little odd. It's not a bad toy though. It's actually pretty decent for what it is. And yeah, a lot of people actually kind of like the weird cow pattern that they did on him. I'm gonna put him up to premium, but they'll probably end up on the lower end of that. So be on alert. There are some really good toys in here, and I feel like I'm going to fill up the retail release because a lot of these are just kind of, okay, they did a thing. Spy Changer Optimus Prime. I always hate calling him Spy Changer Optimus because he's not a Spy Changer. We've got, Spy Changers are like kind of defined by that transformation scheme that this one doesn't have. This is a basic. This is like the return of Transformers basics. So where does he go, though? I mean, yeah, he's simple. Yeah, he doesn't do a whole lot, but I think there is some merit to the fact that they actually shrunk down Fire Convoy into like a handheld size that I think is pretty novel in and of itself. And to go straight from the vehicle mode to the super mode is, there's some novelty there. There's novelty there enough for me to put him up a little bit higher. Now we get to Prowl 2. So he's going to end up where a lot of the Spy Changers are going to end up. That's just, you know, that's just how it's going to go. But yeah, deco-wise, he's fine. The name is the dumbest name in Transformer history, but the toy itself is fine. I mean, different take on Prowl, you know, it's not necessarily bad. Rev. Racing Evolution Vehicle, I think. This one not too bad either. It's very Sunstreaker in the vehicle mode. I don't mind it too much. Do I like it more than the Mirage? Probably not. Probably not. But yeah, it's up there. I think he's fine. Skids. Spelled SKID-Z. It's not the 90s anymore. You don't have to do that to sound cool. Before they figured out they could just put the word Autobot in front of it and then trademark it, that's the kind of thing they had to do in order to secure trademarks of old names. It's a little bit forced, and it's not great. All right. So, Skids, with a weird spelling. I mean, it's a one-step changer. It's a nice one, and I actually like the color scheme, the purple and the white with the blue. It's actually kind of rare for, like, this. It's kind of a rare color scheme for a Transformer. To the point where I'm kind of shocked that through all the random repaints we have gotten, there has not been an RID Skids using, you know, any of the Mirage molds that have been coming out. It seems obvious to me. Hasn't happened yet. I'll put him at top of retail because he's nice for what he is. Okay, Ultra Magnus. Now, granted, this one goes from normal robot to normal vehicle on his original toy as well, so it's not quite as gimmicky or novel as the little Optimus Prime, but it's still not bad. I mean, it's still very simple. It gives you an Ultra Magnus with more solid legs. That's something you don't get out of the main one. Again, I think there is a novelty to actually releasing this guy and actually like turning a leader class figure into like a small basic class. So I'm going to put him up. He's not as impressive as Prime, but he's okay. He's good for what he's doing. Wars. Another name should be an abbreviation, but no. In America, it's just Wars. And again, it's just typical Spy Changer. It basically just comes down to how do I like the look of it. And the look of it is fine. He does come across pretty plain, kind of typical Spy Changer stuff. Kind of typical just Transformer stuff in general. So I'm not terribly impressed with Wars. Cryotech. Now, when this toy first came out, when we first got photos of it, someone posted one on eBay for sale. And everyone swore up and down, oh, you can tell it's just photoshopped. You can tell they just edited that. Why would they do a blue Megatron? Because they were coming up with a brand new name for a toy line full of repaints. That's why. Cryotech is awesome. Turn the fire dragon into an ice dragon is the most obvious thing you could do, but it works. I mean, remember, it's... I don't even know if they had Wizards of the Coast at the time. I don't think they did. I was going to say, it's the Dungeons & Dragons people at Hasbro. No. But still. Yeah, I mean, I have to put aside the fact that it's a repaint. And we have to kind of just go on the fact of it's just a really cool looking toy that actually is a cool toy in and of itself. So you know what? I'm putting it to Holy Grail. It might end up on the lower end of it, but I definitely feel like it should go pretty high because it's a really, really cool looking toy. And I don't mean to keep making the cold pun, but here we are. Here's where we get into repaints that I'm probably going to be passing on. We can shuffle them down to the bottom here. And unfortunately, this one's very poorly cropped, but I can tell it's a repainted Movor. Yeah, so typically I remove repaints from these lists because it's just kind of redundant. I just kind of focus on how the toy is. Whoever put this list together was very thorough and decided everything needed to be in the same batch. So we're just going to move some things down just to kind of get them out of the way. Let's see. Who's next? Armor Hide. This is a weird one because it is different from the Japanese version, which had desert deco. This one has Arctic deco. And I think both work. I think it still looks nice. I mean, again, it's a G1 toy, so I can't put it too high because it is fairly basic for what it is. But you know what? It's still not, at the time it was still a solid figure. At the time it was still a solid figure. Oh my god. Oh, that's bad. Why can't I remember your name? Oh, oh, I should remember. I can remember the other half's name. Oh my god. Okay. It'll occur to me later. Don't at me. Don't at me. It is a repaint of one of the laser rods. Honestly, I kind of find him to be lacking. Aside from just not really much of a fan of how this toy is done in general, the black deco I don't think served it well. It looks fine in the vehicle mode, but I just think his robot mode looks way too plain. Yeah, Axor, by the way, Axor. No, he's a little bit too weird. Like, the engineering on him's a little bit weird. If I remember right, his right arm suffers because of the laser not having a long enough cord. And it's just way more awkward than his pack mate. So we're putting Axor into bargain bin. Oh, Bruticus, my boy. What are you doing? Well, I know what you're doing here. You have to be here because that's how the list works. Yeah, we know how this goes. We know how this goes. The deco's terrible and misses a lot of the sculpted in details. The toy itself is very, very clunky. It's cool in concept, but it's executed very, very poorly. It's just a really big mess of a figure, given no favors by how bad the deco was given to him. Yeah, so he's down there in the bargain bin, or he's down in the flea market level, because of course he is. Crosswise. So, here's where this is where I'm going to be bad. I really like Crosswise. I really like the color scheme, and brace yourselves. I really like how the translucent plastic was used. Because it was used to do, like, inner effects and, like, things you could see through, like, inner details, which is really, really cool and looked really, really good. So I actually really, really like how this one was done. This is going to be the one spy changer I put up in premium. I guarantee it'll be at the low end because it's still spy changer. But for what it's doing, yeah. It looks so cool. It looks so cool. Night Scream. No, Dark Scream. Apologies. He's a pretty basic figure. Literally, he's a Beast Wars basic class figure. And not bad, though. I do like him. I like the blue and silver deco. It's very atypical for a Predacon, because it is a very bright color scheme I would normally associate with, maybe an Autobot. Or in this case, a Maximal. It is simplistic. It is simple. He's mostly wearing his beast mode on his back. But he does come with some cool tricks. I love how the squirrel tail folds up to become the sheath of his sword, which ends up right there on the back where it's supposed to be. That's a very clever bit of engineering. I want to put him pretty high, actually. I want to put him up pretty high. I think toy-wise, I actually do like him better than Obsidian. I do expect these to scale downward as we go on here, but for what we got right now, yeah, I feel comfortable there. Okay, Daytonus. Now, this is going to rank somewhere around Prowl 2, because the thing I forgot to mention about Prowl 2, he does have an advantage over the other spy changers in that he can store his weapon. All of the unreleased spy changers that, from G2, the unreleased G2 GoBots who became Wave 2 spy changers, all of them could store their weapons underneath in vehicle mode. Super cool. Super cool. But it does give him a bit more. I actually like Daytonus. I actually like Daytonus quite a bit. Name makes no sense whatsoever, but I like the orange and black. I like the overall look in the robot mode. It's kind of underrated. I kind of like him. Dreadwing. This is still a really cool toy. I do like the army colors on this mold. It doesn't make much sense for the stealth bomber portion of it, but I do think it looks good. And of course, this is a very high functioning toy. Really well articulated. Vehicle mode looks great. The tank mode is ridiculous, but it's kind of awesome that way. You've got the turret missile launcher thing. This goes high. Like, this is where I start putting things up premium price. Things start sliding down on the scale. Yeah, I really like this one. I really like that one. And that doesn't even get into his function with Smoke Jumper. We have to talk about Smoke Jumper later. Gas Skunk. Aside from just a clever name, it's really underwhelming. So for whatever reason, they took Beast Wars Stink Bomb. They brought him over to Japan for car robots. Barely changed his deco at all, if they did in any way. And then Hasbro just brought the toy over again. So we've got, basically it's the same toy, with just a different name. Well, so a little bit underwhelming. The toy itself is just kind of mid. I mean, I'm not as big a fan of him as I am Darkscream. It's okay. It's okay. But it's just not nearly as impressive. It is one of those, like, the arms and legs become his arms and legs kind of transformations. So it's a little bit disappointing in that regard. Okay, Mega Octane is where we start getting back into G1 stuff. Now, to be fair, Mega Octane does do a bit more than I would expect. For starters, the color scheme works. The bright orange aside, like the military camo on it's done really well. The little artillery mode is still functional, and because we have spy changers in this toy line, it actually works better. So there are actually small toys that can interact with his tiny little base mode. He is still a G1 toy, so he's going to end up in retail. He will end up definitely better than the spy changers. Not only because of size, but just because, yeah, he's got more function to him. Mirage, again. Was this Mirage 2? Or Mirage GTS? I think it's Mirage GTS. Either way, it's a repaint of the Viacon, done up in yellow and black, and triggering someone's Bumblebee radar out there. It's an okay toy. It is an okay toy. Nothing terribly special about it, but it's not bad for what it is. Let's see where does that put him though? I mean, I do like him. I want to put him somewhere around there. I might be giving Skids too much credit. I give Skids more credit just because the deco is unique and it's kind of striking, more so than the yellow and black, because we've seen plenty of yellow and black Transformers. But like that wine red, it really is. It's that wine red color on Skids. It's really like keeping him where he is. Night Cruise. I love Night Cruise. I like the toy itself. I think the toy itself is really good. I think the deco on this is fantastic. Panel lining it with off-white is such a good call. It looks spectacular as a toy. So where do we go? Where do we go now? I think he's going very high on premium. Okay, now here's where we hit the thing. Okay, so I think, you've been seeing it as this video has gone on. As I notice and come up to all these, like, random repaints that were in the line, I am shuttling them down into the lower ranks here, just to get them out of the way so we don't have to really discuss them until, see, like, here's a blue Ironhide. He goes away. It's just so we can talk about the molds that make up the bulk of the toy line rather than just, like, clear spy changers, right? So, I'm going to leave the Super Autobot Brothers in here though, because there is a different tone to them, and it does start with Super Prowl, and Super Prowl is really, really good. I actually like the deco way better than the original Prowl. Like, the original Prowl is traditional, white and black, and it looks nice. But there's just something about that blue and white. Like, this original name was Mock Alert. And I feel that kind of name a lot more when I see the blue than I do just like the typical Prowl colors. He goes up to the Holy Grail tier. Really like that toy. Really like that toy. Probably my favorite. Yeah, I'd say the favorite of the Autobot Brothers. I mean, he's loaded with shell, but he uses it very well. He uses it really well. Rapid Run. So, yeah, the bullet trains, I know a lot of fans clamor for them. I remember Hasbro stating, like, the bullet trains did so poorly, we're never making those again. And it's probably the reason we've seen, like, I think maybe one bullet train in Transformers since, and that was in Classics. So where does he go now? I think out of the three, Rapid Run is still pretty decent. I want to say he's my favorite of the three Bullet Train brothers. Let's see, where do you go? I want to put you up there. You are really nice. And I like the American versions better because the American versions took out a lot of translucent plastic, which exists in the Japanese version simply for the sake of all the windows down the side of the train mode, but also makes his connection points kind of fragile. You don't want fragile connection points on a combiner at all. Roll Bar, our Swindle repaint. Again, the military color works well. There's a really weird thing this one does. Like, it's like light green airbrushed on the front. Instead of, like, I don't know if it's trying to look like there's like paint weathering on the front of the vehicle or what, but it really doesn't look correct. It doesn't look right. It's just a weird paint decision. The toy itself is okay, but Swindle really is kind of the bottom of the barrel for the original for the original Combaticons. So I'm gonna put them low. I'm gonna put them down low. Even when I try to take the fact that it's a G1 toy released in 2001 into account, it's still just kind of a bummer of a figure. I still think like Movor and Armorhide came out better. Here's another inspired name, Rotor. Rotor probably came out the best. So Rotor is still kind of awkward in that G1 era, but like the colors again look nice. He functions as a figure. Can't take that away from him. And yeah, he's okay. He's okay. Like all the other G1 re-releases in this line, he's okay. We'll put him above his teammates here. Scavenger, another repaint from Beast Machines. And the toy itself is interesting because it's very much just kind of a generic construction demolition kind of machine. So it's okay for what it is. Nothing terribly exciting. The blue is interesting because they try to put a distinctly Autobot color scheme of blue and white onto something that is very menacing in its overall design. I mean, I don't think I like it as much as Mirage. I'll put it one notch below. Just credit for doing something different. It is definitely an oddball of a figure. It's definitely odd. All right. Apparently, we might have the original the creator of this list might have done this in alphabetical order without me realizing it, which means we are now at our Scourge block, and it begins with the Destructicon Scourge, a repaint of Hero Optimus Prime. I've never been big on this mold. Okay, the air-firing missiles, that's cool. I mean, he looks like he is armed to the teeth, which is kind of cool for an evil Optimus Prime. I don't remember this toy standing up very well. And I remember it having the same problem of the hose connected to its arm weapon kept it from being really posable. It looks good, I just don't think it executes very well. So yeah, where do I go with you? I mean, it's still okay. But for what it is and for what it's trying to be, I don't think it quite does as good of a job. I mean, there's definitely better toys around the same size. The Spy Changer Scourge. which is fascinating. We actually got a unique mold. They actually did like an original G2 Optimus Prime and Mini for this toy line. This was great if you actually had Brave Maximus and you could actually like have a scaled Scourge to go with it. That was always cool. He's a nice little figure. It's a great little recreation of the original, the original mold. It works really, really well for what it is. We're gonna put it pretty high. And again, we're gonna put up with the other high rank spy changers who are not technically spy changers. In fact, for novelty what it is, I think I'm gonna put it above Optimus. So I really like him. Now for the big boy, the actual Scourge. G2 Optimus, Laser Optimus Prime is already a really, really good toy. The base mode is way more interesting than the original G1. All the artillery on it is really cool. Like the disc launching. I like a disc launching gimmick. And then, of course, the robot mode is just really, really nice. And then, yeah, of course, iconic color scheme that modern Hasbro got wrong. Because someone didn't do their research. But the toy is fantastic. He is going to be the top of our holy grail for now. Getting into other spy changers. So, Sideburn, the small version of Sideburn, which was always super confusing. I understand they're both Corvettes, so it makes sense. But also, why would you just let that weird color scheme happen? I mean, I know these things are gang molded. So if a part on one is orange, a part on a different spy changer is going to end up being orange. So they don't really have much control over what happens in the deco when that starts going on. However, why would you name it Sideburn when it doesn't look anything like Sideburn in robot mode? It's going to end up somewhere else with the rest of them. It's okay looking. It's okay looking. But it is a weird choice. I'm also aware that these are going off the side. I do apologize for that. We'll shrink it down before I end off the list so you can see where everything ended up. Now, Sideswipe. This is a weird one. So I like the color scheme. I like the paint job on the vehicle mode. Robot mode does get a little bit weird with the orange in the legs, the blue on the head. So it's a little bit of an awkward design, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it so much. I do want to put it... I like Daytona's better. So we'll put him just below there. See all the spy changers predictably ending up basically in the same spot because they're all basically the same toy. So no real shock there. Okay. Skybite. So, rip Peter Spellos again. But we got to be real here. We got to be genuine about this. So... Skybite itself, the paint scheme is beautiful. It is the best repaint of all time, in my humble opinion. The toy itself is okay. The beast mode looks fantastic. In robot mode, you do have a lot of junk and kibble hanging off. Half the shark head hangs off his butt. Huge panels hanging off his shoulders. Extra panels hanging off his back that hold on to the shark fins. Functionally, not the best of toys. It just gets on by that amazing paint job and how good it looks in beast mode. It definitely wants. So despite its engineering faults, it does go up to premium price. Here's where we get into ones where the names get muddy again. I'm going with Wind Shear on this one. I believe it's Wind Shear. It's a G2 Jet, which is a primitive, it has one of the original weapon storage abilities. They hide in the legs and then they combine once you bring them into robot mode, which is cool. It is a one-step. You just kind of fold the cockpit down, and it just kind of forms the robot like so. It's a repaint from Machine Wars, so an unreleased G2 toy. The color scheme works way better than the Machine Wars ones does, and it's ball jointed engineering, so it works well. It's articulated. I want to put it pretty high up here. I think I like him right about there, above Darkscream. it's a really nice and well-functioning toy. Really, really like it. Okay, Slapper. Let's see. What do we do with you? Let's see. Yeah. What do we do with you? It's not a bad toy. It's not a bad toy. It's a repaint. You know, it's a repaint left over from Spitor from Beast Wars Transmetal 2s. It's definitely a creepy looking character. It's appropriate for a Predacon. And I do like the color scheme. I think the color scheme for this one is way better than what they originally came up with it for Transmetal 2. Yeah, it's nice. It's not a bad figure. Where is... Okay, so Dark Scream's up there. I think I like Dark Scream better. And then Gas Skunk went down into retail release. So I think I'm going to put him somewhere around there. I think I like Obsidian a little bit better. But yeah, he's definitely a better figure than, you know, Spy Changers. So I think he works off there. Smoke Jumper. So we're getting into weird Dark Horse. So at this point, everyone's very familiar that this mold got turned into the engineering of it became Energon Starscream because it was just that good. They had to redo it. Again, we're dealing with the military colors, which I think works better on this slender jet rather than the gigantic stealth bomber. Ironically, the stealth bomber can't rock camouflage. It doesn't work. The toy itself is good, though. The toy itself is really, really good. And when you pair it with its partner, yeah, it's a great one, too. So I think it's appropriate. I have to put them together, right? I have to put them right beside each other. But Dreadwing, probably the better of the two with the third mode and the better missile gimmick. Tow Line. All right, so Tow Line, another one-step changer. Another, like, blaring color. Like, this should have been his Generation 2 colors if he had actually come out in G2. As far as where to go... the one step works pretty well because it's mostly that box on the rear of that tow truck unfolding into the robot. It's a pretty nice transformation. It's the one that very much comes down to how you feel about that color scheme. You know, because it is very, like, out there. It's very out there. Yeah, where do we go? Where do we go with you? Where do we go with you? I think we put him up in premium. I actually really like the color scheme, personally, and I think he functions really, really well. So we'll award him a premium price point for now. Okay, I had to double check. This is Wind Shear. The one we were talking about before was Skyfire. I totally forgot they actually dug that name out of mothballs for an RID toy. That was super weird. Okay, well, Skyfire is still really good, and Wind Shear is, again, still really good. It's the same engineering. I do think elements of him came out better. The difficulty on him is that his head is very much Megatron's, because this is the Megaplex mold. So it's a little bit awkward. It's a little bit awkward. They tried very hard to make him not Megatron in design. Traditional purple and black colors for Decepticon, but that bright neon yellow-green color really striking through. Like its deco a little bit better, just because it's a lot more striking. We're coming up to X-Brawn here, but we're going to start with his, air quote, Spy Changer. And to turn such a complicated figure into a very tiny figure, I think is incredibly impressive. This is a really, really nice toy. For its size, it's a really nice toy. We are going to put him above Scourge, his pack mate, because he is just a really impressive little bit of engineering. Yeah, just for his size, yeah, he's good. He's good. X-Brawn himself, I do really like the X-Brawn figure. It is probably the least involved of any of the Autobot brothers. And yeah, just the asymmetry to him works really, really well. I like his, like, a bunch of accessory weapons he has as well. That works for him. If his deco is a little bit better, I think I'd put him a little bit higher. Right now, I kind of want to put him closer to the top of premium. We will grade his repaint as well. That will be a different issue. All right, Bludgeon. which is a Hero Megatron repaint. Weird toy to name Bludgeon, but hey, it was the early 2000s. All they wanted was to reclaim trademarks. So Bludgeon again has some of the weird issues that both the Hero toys have. That they're a little bit unstable for what they are. That said, he's better than the Optimus mold. He's better than the Optimus mold, so I can confidently put him a little bit higher up. Part of it does have to do with the fact that his air shooter gimmick doesn't end up on his arm, where it restricts his articulation. The yellow on a tank is not the best look, but yeah, I think he just edges out Scourge as far as just being a decent toy. All right, so the next one up is Galvatron. And that's, I think that's a very easy Holy Grail. We put him very high on the list. This one is going to be determined by what you think of the color scheme, because we have Megatron coming up as well. He'll go to Holy Grail. Hey, let's just do this right now. Let's just do this right now. I think the Devil Gigatron colors are way, way more interesting. To be able to turn white and gold into like a really menacing color scheme, I think is really impressive. The black and the purple is classic Decepticon. I complimented it before on a smaller figure, but on a large figure, you just kind of go, okay, we're just kind of getting typical Decepticon. But it's just like how they both look fantastic. I'm gonna say this: either one of these could be the top of the list. It's just a matter of personal preference, and my personal preference is I kind of like the Galvatron colors more. That's just me. But still, with the American version of the toy, Megatron had all the access to the molds and the modes that the Galvatron toy version had. So you are looking at 2 figures with 10 modes, 11 technically, because they came up with the ostrich later. And yeah, they're both phenomenal. They're both phenomenal. Grimlock. I think everyone kind of like scratched their head at the same time when they found out this toy was named Grimlock. Because it's just it ain't a dinosaur. It ain't a dinosaur, let's put it that way. For the build team, he's probably the weakest link of the batch. He's got some extremely odd arm articulation. Arm. How many times can I stutter on that? He's got very... doing it again. What was wrong with me? I've been talking too long. His arms are very strange. His legs are a little bit strange as well. He just comes off as just like an odd ball. He just comes off as an odd ball figure. I'm going to put him middle of retail. And then we're going to move right along into Heavy Load, who pretty much the same figure as Hightower. So we could basically judge them at the exact same time. They're both fine for what they're doing. They're both a decently articulated construction vehicle, doing their job just fine. Nothing really bad to say about either. Nothing grand to say about them either. So, let's see. I'm going to put them above the Destructicons, because I do feel they're kind of on par somewhere with Grimlock. But Grimlock does have some oddities that we do have to account for here. Alright, Hot Shot. I know what you're thinking. I'm not biased just because of the name. Don't even go there. So, Hot Shot as a spy changer, he's one of the better looking ones. He's like a go-to spy changer. And the inner robot colors don't look bad either. Like, he didn't have any like weird coloring issues because of the gang molding. He kind of came out of it unscathed. I still think I like Mirage best out of all the standard spy changers, but we're gonna put him up just almost to the top of that list. Yeah, it's a spy changer. So when I say Hot Shot's not bad, don't everyone jump at that. Alright, Megatron Mega Bolt. Or Mega Bolt Megatron, I can never remember offhand which one it is. This is the unreleased Beast Machines toy, and instead of repainting it in some stupid weird color scheme, they just painted it the way it was originally supposed to be done up. It is Megatron with an alt mode that looks like the Grand Mal, but it's kind of like a Spider Walker instead. it was always weird. We never got Brave Maximus here in the US. They tried. It's going to be an FAO Schwartz exclusive, but the shipment didn't survive transit across the sea. So we never really got the toy that would have made sense of this. Is like, this could have been an alternate head for your Fortress Maximus. But the toy itself, on its own, yeah, it's actually pretty decent. It's a bizarre one. I definitely give it a lot of points for just being unique. We can put it pretty high. Put it pretty high. I think we're going to put him below Skyfire and Windshear, because those two toys are just super good for their size and what they're meant for. There's oddities to the Megatron that keep me from pushing it any higher, but it ain't bad. It ain't bad. So Midnight Express. So for the trains, this is the weird one, because he has no he has next to no torso. He is basically legs, hips, and enough torso to connect arms to, and that's basically how much torso he has. He's the super weird, awkward one out of that particular batch of characters, because he has to form Rail Racer's legs, you know, so someone had to go through it. He's okay. He is very odd. He's very odd in proportion, so I'm not terribly big on the toy. On its own, I'm not big on the toy, on his own. With the rest of his team, he balances out. He's just a weird one. He's just a really weird one. All right, Fire Convoy, Optimus Prime. This is pretty easy. I think Megatron's engineering puts him ahead, but yeah, you can't deny that Optimus Prime is fantastic. Just a super pleasant figure overall. Lots of fun little gimmicks. The armor up mode, it works great. The individual robot mode looks great. Yeah, there's just so much that toy does really, really well. Now we're back down to Autobot Brothers again. Prowl, again, Prowl looks okay. In the traditional Prowl colors, the toy still works. It is still a really, really nice looking robot mode in general. I am going to bump him down to the premium price point. Like I said, I think the blue works and looks way better. This just kind of more of a plain deco, because it's white and black, you know, what are you gonna do? Sideburn. Someone to this day is still trying to figure out how to transform this overcomplicated figure. It's a shell former that is still somehow overcomplicated in transformation. I don't know how you manage that, but they manage that. So we have what we have here. I'm not huge on this toy. I acknowledge it's well articulated, it's got a unique look to it, but it's an overcomplicated mess of a figure. And yeah, it ends up with like so much shell. I kind of want to put it pretty low. I have to put it above Spy Changers, right? So I guess I got to put him like middle of the retail. And then his repaint, I'll put one notch higher, because yeah, like the Hot Rod-esque deco with the extra white on the inner robot mode. Okay, yeah, that looks fine. That looks really cool. Okay, G-Axis. The first G-Axis toy we got, and the reason why G-Axis toys were orange for a while. It's a redeco of the deluxe version of Jetstorm from Beast Machines. Which is a good toy. I like that toy. I'm not sure I like this color scheme on it, though. I mean, the off-white and black make it look really flat. You really only have the orange to go off of. And like we said, it's not really supposed to be orange. The character doesn't really feature orange very much. So it's a weird color scheme on a pretty decent figure. So what do we do with that? I mean, I think that means we put it up there with the Destructicons, because they kind of fall into that exact same category. Do we be nicer to it? Because the mold, that's where it's tricky. Like, because the mold itself is actually decent. Yeah, I just think the color scheme drags it down. We'll talk about it here in a bit again. We'll see how it'll get better. Don't worry. Rail Spike. He's okay. He does have a decent look to him. For one of the trains. And it's Not quite as, it doesn't get me much as Rapid Run, but it's still a nice figure. It's still a nice figure. I think I'm okay putting him just below Rapid Run. And that's another one where preference will basically decide if that is a good placement for you or not. Feel free to disagree. All right, Sideways. Now, he suffers a little bit of the same way that his packmate Axer did, because that power cable to his laser light gimmick does hamper his engineering a little bit. That said, I think it's got a cooler look overall. I'd like the wheels being up on the shoulders like that, like it's some kind of buzzsaw weapon or like an air blaster weapon, something like that. And yeah, the yellow and black color scheme, yeah, I kind of derive it as like kind of typical on Mirage, but it works really well here for this version of Sideways. Where do you go? Can't put you below, can't put you with your packmate, because you're actually decent. Yeah, I gotta put him, yeah, I think just above just above Sideburn. Just above Sideburn. Air Attack Optimus Primal. It's weird that we got the show-accurate Optimus Primal after the show aired. This was going to be released during Beast Machines, but the line got canceled before that could happen. So what do we got here? It's not a bad figure overall. I've had limited experience with it. The biggest issue the toy has is GPS, which that's going to bring any toy down to a really low point. So the toy itself, like outside of that particular engineering flaw, is still pretty decent. I'm going to put it, if we're just judging it based on it just being a toy, then I would probably put it right there at premium price. If we're going to knock it for gold plastic, I would probably put it like top of retail release. So let's do that. Let's do that. If you manage to get one that, like, I think Takara's version doesn't suffer it. And then there is, like, one of those Chinese New Year's toys that did it. Of course, I think there you have to deal with clear plastic instead, so pick your poison. All right, Ultra Magnus. Excluding his combination mode with Omega Prime, he is suffering for that. But it isn't a bad figure itself. I do like that it's large enough to carry the Autobot Brothers. That's kind of an essential thing for a car carrier, but the fact that it's designed for those three is great. The combination, yes, does work. Does work really well with Optimus. What gets me here is he does have some very large parts on ball joints, like the arms, so mine like loosened pretty quickly. I don't know about yours, but the ball joints on mine did not want to cooperate well. And yeah, he's very long-legged, but the thing here is like his legs are very hollow because they're going to form armor for Optimus, which does hurt the overall function of the toy. It still looks really cool, and it's still a very cool take on Ultra Magnus. But I think that little bit of hollowness and that flimsiness it adds knocks him down from where he probably could have been. All right, Wedge, the leader and the smallest of the build team. This one is actually really good. This toy is like an underdog. Like, it's like a dark horse figure. Everyone went nuts because they were asking $10 for something that obviously wasn't as big as the other deluxes. But frankly, he's the best figure in the build team. He really is. He's just a really nice, articulated, solid figure all around. It's kind of endearing in his size. I'm putting him up high. I will give Wedge his flowers. He should be up there. So the original, so let's move down, because that's landfills. That's someone, okay, whoever put this together put just landfill. Just to get in, as one of the random repaints in this line. It's one of the Walmart exclusive multi-pack things. We don't need to worry about it. Stormjet. So, Robots in Disguise was the first toy line I was completist about. I tried to get every single one of them. Stormjet is the one point where I failed. A friend of mine had it, never shipped it out to me like he said he was going to, and I have never owned this toy since. It is, ironically, Skyfire colored, but I think it works really, really well. The jet mode certainly looks super cool in the Jetfire colors. And yeah, I think the robot mode works well. I mean, it's weird that, you try to pass the Vehicle that looks like this into an Autobot, but it kind of works in a really weird way. Kind of does. So if Jaxus is like here in the retail release, then I gotta put, I gotta put this guy somewhere up in the premium. Like, the color scheme is that much better. And speaking of better color schemes, this is like, in my head as a kid, I thought, why you're gonna name the new X-Brawn Wheeljack, right? Because he just looks like Wheeljack as an SUV. I like the white and the green. I really do like the race colors in the vehicle mode. It's an extensive deco to get that right. Overall, it's one of those where you could like either one more or less than the other. I tend to like the super color just a little bit better. And the last one we're really going to focus on is Megabolt, because it is a vastly different color scheme, and it is a toy released during RID. So, it's not just a random it is a random repaint. Who are we kidding? But the color scheme really isn't as impressive. It's kind of dull. It takes a unique figure and just kind of muddles it. So it's a color, like, this is where like color scheme really does, like, because I can acknowledge the toy is the same toy, so it's just as good. But the color scheme on this one is just unpleasant. So I'm gonna drop it all the way down to here, like below the sideburns. And yeah, we're gonna leave it there. Yeah, it's just an unpleasant looking toy now. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Like I said, it's a weird list. I don't even know if it makes sense to me, honestly, because this is such a mishmash toy line. It's probably not even fair to compare them with each other. The ones we have skipped are the we skipped over the landfill repaint. We skipped over the one repaint of Ruination that they threw in here, which is the urban camo. We skipped over all the clear spy changers. So you're not missing a whole lot there. Okay, there's the whole bracket for you. So lots of toys in this line to go through. So yeah, this video ended up being quite a bit longer than I thought. But thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I know there's going to be disagreements over where I place things, because this line has so many different aesthetics and so many different styles going on at the same time. It's going to be personal preference. And like I said, even I don't know if this list makes sense to me. But there it is. I'm going to leave it at that. So of course, I appreciate you watching. Of course, I want you to come back and see me next time I do one of these things. So, until then, I will see you next time.
We parlay with the captain.
You would think a werecroc is going to listen to elvish rules of piracy.
Of course it would be the freaking elves that invented parlay.
I had to think of a quick replacement for the French.